Washington mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
At AM 630.
WMAL.
It is 8:07 in the nation's capital. WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. I'm Larry O'Connor.
Touch that.
That's right. Well, I got thrown off by MC
You
Hammer.
can't touch
But
that.
you started doing the Gangnam Style thing.
Yeah, well,
to
it
MC
sort of seemed
Hammer.
like it would work with that.
You know, they performed together at the American Music Awards. Yeah, it could work together. And they're probably both one-hit wonders as
Yeah,
well.
listen, one thing that America does not need to see is me trying to do Gangnam Style.
You know, you bring up MC Hammer and really bad 1991 music,
Right.
and you think Kurt Loder.
So much.
You were the MC Hammer of MTV News at the time, weren't you? Did you ever go Hammer style there? Did you
I
ever?
didn't have the pants.
No, you didn't, but you could have. God knows. Kurt Loder joins us
Lord,
now.
I could have afforded them. Yeah.
Hey, Kurt, it's Christmas season, and this is when supposedly all the best movies are supposed to come out. First of all, for box office purposes, but also for the Oscars. What do you see coming out right now that is going to be Oscar-worthy in your mind?
I think Zero Dark 30, the Catherine Bigelow movie about the 10-year hunt for
Really?
Osama bin Laden,
Yeah.
is looks like it almost has a lock on the Oscar. We'll
Wow.
Not just a nomination. You think it's going to win the award? Just done.
I think so. I mean, there's some good movies out, but it's an amazing movie because, among other things, it's a rare movie about the U.S. military that isn't distorted by liberal political pieties. You just watch what's going on. There's like waterboarding in it. There's the shooting of civilians where they're trying, or terrorists, whatever, and there's no comment made on it. And Jessica Chastain is in it, and she plays the CIA operative, but she's not coming to weep and protest. She's as tough as everybody else in the movie.
Wow.
So it's really an amazing film.
Now, there's a lot of concern that it was going to be political, and is it or is it not?
Not at all.
Wow.
It's, I think the politics are built in. It's us versus these horrible people.
Yeah.
But there's no comment. There's no comment made like this is bad or this is wrong or American soldiers.
It doesn't lionize the president?
President is like barely in it.
How about that?
And
Really about the
barely
citizen.
mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really about the politicians at all, and it's very true to life, and it's just an engrossing movie. It's really fabulous.
Now, it's the same team, Catherine Bigelow and Mark Bowl, who did the Hurt Locker. They won
Yeah.
an Oscar for that as well. Now, a lot of people, there was mixed emotions about Hurt Locker because some people saw it as very pro-military or painted the military in a positive way, but I saw it. There were some scenes in there that I thought made the American military look somewhat negative, actually. But you're saying this one is clean of those things.
Yeah, I think there's no attempt to. I'm sure there'll be criticism about this being, lionizing the military and enhanced interrogation, but it doesn't do that either. It's just the script is an investigative script by Mark Bowl, and he did a lot of interviewing for it, and this is what happened. And it's
Wow.
just presented. There it is. Take what you want, and it's all very believable.
I wasn't looking forward to that movie because I felt like it was probably going to be a little one-sided or they would have a political bent to it. I'm really encouraged to hear you say it's just sort of a straight-up presentation of what happened. I'm very interested in seeing it now.
Yeah, it's really good.
And spoiler alert, Osama bin Laden gets killed.
Oh, I heard that, yeah.
The bad guy dies at the end.
The bad guy does it. All right, but I got to ask you because Larry has been on me to invent. I've never done any of the Lord of the Rings movies, and he says, "I know. I'm sorry. It's just not interesting to me." But Larry's been on me to go to the Hobbit. So tell me, is the Hobbit worth seeing?
Well, I'm a big fan of the Lord of the Rings movies. I've seen all three of them several times. I love those movies. The Hobbit is sort of disappointing, I thought, because it's like you're entering a world from the last three movies, but it's inhabited by a whole different cast of people, and it's based on a 300-page book as opposed to the enormous Lord of the Rings. And it's the first installment of three movies that are being made from this slim novel. And I just thought it was, first of all, it's a guy played by Martin Freeman who's leading sort of a fellowship of dwarves. The dwarves are indistinguishable. They're interchangeable. You just don't care. I don't think the orcs aren't as scary
You're
as
so
the
anti-dwarf. My God. I had no idea you were anti-dwarf.
I mean, well,
would you be happier if they were named Sleepy and Doc and Happy?
I thought of that while I was watching this movie. I don't mean any aspersions against the dwarf community, but as characters, they're just not very gripping. There's some orcs. They're not as scary as the Uruk-hai in The Lord of the Rings. There's a little seen dragon, and it wanders. It's also shot at 48 frames per second, which is double the number of frames, the frame rate of traditional movies, which is supposed to give it added clarity, and I guess it does, but I didn't miss clarity in the Lord of the Rings movies. And it's also 3D, which I think is totally unnecessary.
No, all right. And now, what about, if you know anything about this film, Life of Pi? This is getting a lot of mention as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Again, I think that drags. It's really long. Everything is really long at the end of the year. It's a law that it has to be more than 2.5 hours long. Life of Pi is okay, but it wanders. It's not very involving. It's amazing to look at. And it's sort of a kid's movie, although I think the first half hour, I'm not sure kids would sit still for it. It's a lot of backstory.
And are you excited about the re-release of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane?
Is that being re-released?
Yeah. Oh, you haven't heard? Oh, yeah. It's very exciting. This is going to be it's a camp favorite. The camp classic.
Oh my! I'm down for that. I'll be waiting.
Will you come dressed up as Joan Crawford or as Betty Davis?
Both.
Nice.
Both. I'll be a split personality.
I like that. All right, listen. You obviously you were a legendary editor over at Rolling Stone in your days at MTV. Everyone knows you from that. Do you have any comment on the latest Grammy nominations? Are you very excited about Carly Rae Jepsen?
I'm not very excited about any contest like that pits performers against other performers. I think it's meaningless. It's an industry patting itself on the back, much like the Oscars. It doesn't mean anything, and I don't care if Carly Rae Jepsen wins or not.
Really?
Their music remains what it is. You can like it or not.
Well, earlier in the show, we had a pretty spirited discussion about Senator Rand Paul's words the other day about how the Republican Party should really seriously look at the movement toward decriminalization of marijuana. We saw this happen in Washington and Colorado on a state-by-state basis.
Yeah, people are passionate about it.
What do you think? And just
one way or the other,
from a position of freedom and liberty, and whether the Republicans can actually loosen up their image, is this a good idea?
Republicans have a lot of problems. Absolutely. I think it should be decriminalized. And the 2 states where it's not legal, the Obama administration wants to go in and start, busting people.
Right.
Because they don't like this, which I think is not going to play with their base very well. But, yeah, drugs should be legalized.
But do you think it would be a good political move if the Republicans...
Well, I don't know. But I think, by now, it's been, 80 years or something since marijuana was criminalized. I think there's a whole generation of people who grew up smoking marijuana, so they know it's not heroin. And, I think people are ready for it. That the federal government will take a stand against it is really very old wave, I think.
Kurt, you need to see Reefer Madness again.
I've seen it.
Clearly, you have not. The message did not hit home.
You've forgotten.
Yeah, all right.
I just didn't get the message. I don't know.
All right. Well, hey, listen. Thanks for the tip. We're excited now about Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm pumped up. That opens December 19th in theaters everywhere.
And I'll be there.
You know what we need to do is get Catherine Bigelow on the show to talk.
I think
about
you should. She does a great job.
All right. Thank you, Kurt Loder, the one and only Kurt.